Hello, everybody. This is Zach at it again. I'm your host, Zach Cooley, and I'm thrilled to start the third season of this podcast with a very special lady. I'm talking to Miss Sarah Dickens, who has just retired after a record 70 years as an employee with the Wythe County Public Schools. Thank you so much for joining me, Miss Dickens. It's a pleasure to talk with you today.
Well, you're most welcome.
You explained to me early on in the phone call of the unusual circumstance of your working at Wythe County Public Schools for 70 years, and you were only 86 years of age. Now, how did that happen?
Well, I started school in West Virginia, and at that time, you could start at age 5, and of course there was no kindergarten then, so I went straight into the first grade at age 5, and there were only 11 grades at that time also. So 5 and 11 makes 16.
And you graduated from George Wythe High School on a Thursday night and went to work for the school system the following Tuesday, which I believe you told me was June 9th, 1953. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. So how did you come to gain employment with the school system?
Well, of course, back then, not everybody went to college. Not everybody could afford to, or not everybody wanted to. And I had taken business classes at the high school, shorthand and typing. And the superintendent, Mr. Fendel Ellis at the time, had called the business teacher, Miss Mamie Roberts, and asked her for a recommendation. They needed a secretary at the school board office and wanted a recommendation of someone they might like to come to work. So they called me, and I said probably on Friday or Saturday, and wanted to know if I was interested, and I said yes. And they said, well, could I come in on Monday for an interview? And I said, well, if I can find a ride. I lived in Max Meadows, and I of course didn't have a car. I did have a driver's permit, but I had no car. My father had a car, and he had to drive, to work. So I managed to find a ride. I came into Whitfield on Monday, interviewed, and the superintendent, Mr. Ellis, said, can you come to work tomorrow? And I said, well, if I can find a ride. And so I did. I found the ride, and I came on in and started the next day. And the rest is history.
And you stayed in that particular position for 70 years. Well,
not exactly. I was secretary. I did the superintendent's correspondence, answered the phone, did everything. There weren't but 4 or 5 of us in the whole office. There was a clerk of the board who was Mrs. Reardon, and she'd been there 10 years. And I thought, nobody stays in the same job 10 years. Can't believe it.
Right.
She after a couple of years, she quit and resigned, and she was clerk of the board and bookkeeper and secretary and all those different things. And so the board and superintendent, I guess just to appease me, they said, we would appoint you to that position, but you are so young and you won't stay with us. We need somebody with some longevity. So they appointed Mr. Richard Rowe as clerk of the board and bookkeeper, and then made me deputy clerk. Well, I think 25 years later, I finally got a promotion. He retired, and they moved me into clerk, and all the other duties.
25 years later, they finally thought you were going to stay with them enough to let you have the job.
They trusted me enough that they could get me into a more responsible position.
After 25 years, well, I'm glad to see they had such trust in you. So then you take that job after 25 years. Now, what happens from there? Did you keep that job, or did you go on to some other job?
Well, there wasn't anywhere else to go but superintendent. I couldn't be the superintendent.
Well, I'm sure there are some that would challenge you on that. I think 70 years has to be a record of employment anywhere, let alone in Wythe County and for Wythe County schools.
And with the same employer, everybody thinks, I've worked 70 years, but it's been several different jobs. But it was, I enjoyed it. It was challenging.
Right.
And I guess somewhere along the way, I did every clerical job that there was to do in a school system,
I'm sure. And
payroll, I paid the bills, I did the superintendent's correspondence, answered the phone, just whatever needed to be done. And I always said that there was never a dull moment because the state was always changing things. And, it's changing superintendents, had 13 different superintendents.
Yes, at least that. Can you name again the superintendent, Mr. Ellis, his first name, who hired you?
Fendall, Fendall.
Fendall Ellis, all right.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you enjoyed the work. Obviously you wouldn't stay anywhere for 70 years if you didn't. What particular aspects of the job did you enjoy and find particularly challenging?
That's hard to say. Which part did I like the best about it?
Mm-hmm.
It's like what is in school recess, I guess, or lunch hour. I guess, really, the association I had where I just worked with so many nice people.
Mm-hmm.
And I always just loved if a plan came together, if you had a big report and you got it right and you figured it out and, it's just always nothing was just routine, like
right.
assembly line work.
Right.
Did different types of jobs all the time, and I enjoyed it.
And obviously, being a secretary, they don't even use the term secretary anymore. They say administrative assistant, and all these different things. Obviously, there were some changes to clerical work and the responsibilities that you had. What type of changes have you had to endure as a clerical worker over the decades of your job?
Well, actually, when I first went to work, I didn't even have an electric typewriter.
Right.
I remember the first electric typewriter they got for me was a big one, and I had a choice of colors, and I got a red one. I remember that big red typewriter.
Oh, that's what I would choose. Red's my favorite color.
There's no Xerox machine.
Mm-hmm.
If you needed 3 or 4 copies of something, you had to type it, and you had what they call this one-time carbon paper, the thin paper with several pieces of carbon in it. If you made a mistake, which everybody does, you had to flip that and erase every page and correct it.
Yep.
Of course, there was no computers. There was no cell phones. No, like I said, no copiers. If you had to correspond with somebody, you'd write them a letter and put it in the mail and wait a week and get an answer back and then write again. No fax machines.
Right. And I guess you had to learn all of that.
To adapt to every bit of it.
Yep, to the computers and fax machines and I
never was real good with the computers. They scared me.
Right.
But I never had time to really play with them or anything. I had to learn a bookkeeping system, which I learned. And I could do it fine. But that's about all I could do.
Right. You learned the bare minimum. Yeah, you learned enough to get by, and
That's right.
Right.
And I'm still that way. I'm still scared of them.
Now, are you a lifelong citizen of Wythe County?
No. I was born in Haverco, West Virginia.
Oh, okay. And
That's a couple of miles from Welch. It's a coal mining town. Moved out here in 1947.
And what brought you to Wythe County?
My parents. I was 10 years old.
Okay. Did they have work out here or something? Or was it?
Yes. See, we were in a coal mining town.
Sure.
My brother was graduating from Welch High School, and he bragged to my mother that he's going to get him a job at the mines as soon as he got out of school. And my mother said, "You will not be going to the mines." And, of course, my mother was originally from Max Bettis. So my daddy acquired work at Austinville. Well, still a mines, but it's different, from coal mines.
Yes, ma'am. My great-grandmother was from Austinville. That's where my mother grew up, and all of my great-uncles and great-aunts come from the Austinville mines. So I know that very well. My great-aunt ran the bowling alley in the recreation center in the bottom of the Austinville school.
Oh, I used to bowl over there.
Yeah. Do you remember Hazel Stutes? That was
she taught school too, didn't she?
No, Hazel didn't teach school. She probably taught the lessons at the rec center lessons, maybe. But her and Homer Krieger did all the recreational activity at the.
Yeah, I remember the names real well.
In the bottom of the school, and I wrote a book about her in Austinville. So
I was good friends with B. Sharp, who lived over there, and her dad was Ramsey. I don't know if you ever heard of him. And we bowled over to Austinville a lot.
If I ever had money, which I don't expect I ever will, I would take that money and buy that school and refurbish it and try to make it exactly like it was, and name it for Hazel. If I had the money to do it.
Maybe you'll hit the lottery.
Well, I don't think it's going to come, but if I had it to spare, obviously, that's what I would do. So I appreciate your connection to Austinville and the mines, and the fact that that's what brought you to Wythe County. Coming back to your career, however, did it ever behoove you at any point in time throughout the decades that I might want to try my hand at something else, or were you just always satisfied with the job?
Well, early on, I don't know when it was, but I didn't make any money.
Right.
I made all of $100 a month for, how long, and if I hadn't lived at home and my parents fed me and everything, couldn't have made it. Right. But at one time, I don't know, I'd been there a few years, and somebody, I don't know, a friend of mine, somebody had a job with state police. I don't know, it wasn't a dispatcher, it was probably just clerical or something. Right. I heard that they made a little bit more money, and I talked to my parents about it, and my daddy said, you might want to think about this, because he said you've got a good retirement plan, and you don't make a lot of money, and I make enough to feed you, and I believe if I were you, I'd just stay where you are. And I thought about it, and I thought, well, everybody I knew was working either for the telephone company or this or that, and they said, well, there's always going to be public schools, no matter what. Right. And said, you're secure there. And he just talked me into it, and that's the only time I think I ever even threatened or thought about it. Right. And as we've discussed, you are 86. Most people retire 20 years before you retired. Is there any particular reason that you decided to stay? I couldn't imagine not working. And in fact, in the last few years I still couldn't imagine not working. And now I'm surprised that I'm as content as I am to be at home. But the last about 4 years, I worked a half a day instead of all day.
Right. And now
you do slow down a little bit, when you get in your 80s, and particularly when you break your back and your shoulder and all kind of different little breakages and little back sits.
I think we're pretty fortunate in this day and time if the Lord lets us live to be in our 80s. So if you've done that and gone through all those fractures, I'd say that's a testament to your inner strength as well as your physical strength.
Yeah, I just never did even consider, not working.
So did you ultimately have to retire because of your health? Was that the decision?
Oh, no. Oh. Well, I guess actually at the moment, because I wanted, after I got to a certain point, I thought, well, my eyes were fading. I couldn't do as much work as I did.
Right.
And I always wanted to make sure I was doing my fair share, even though it's just half a day.
Sure.
And what pushed the button, finally, I fell May the 16th, broke my right shoulder and my pelvis.
Oh.
So that did me in.
Yes.
And I said, okay, don't push it anymore. That's enough.
Okay. So obviously this is a pretty big deal. Maybe not a big deal to you, but a pretty big deal to the school system, losing their longest tenured employee ever. You said they had a dinner for you at the country club. Were there any other festivities that you were given as a send-off?
No, that was it. We just had a little reception. I didn't want a lot of big to-do. My gosh. I mean, I went to work and worked 70 years, and I retired, and there's enough,
Right. And you retired as clerk of the board, right?
No, I gave up the clerk's job about 4 years ago.
Okay.
But it required night meetings, and, and I wanted to go just part-time.
I see. So what was the position you retired from? Just.
Actually, it made me finance consultant.
Okay.
I said the last probably 4 years, more of what I did was for what I knew instead of what I did.
Right.
The great historian, and they can go back and say, now 20 years ago, this and so happened. Do you remember that? Well, yeah, this is what happened,
Yeah, you could recall things better than anybody there, I suppose.
Well, I was the only one who had experienced it.
Right, hands-on.
And then, so I thought that sounded like a really important job, finance consultant, but that's what I did. I consulted.
Right, right, absolutely. And you were consulted. So yes.
But they were forever saying, you remember that, and so what? Now, I don't remember the details, and I'd either dig it out of a file somewhere. Everything's on a computer now. I have filing cabinets and, just files everywhere. I just still like the pencils and paper.
Right.
Or copy everything.
Exactly. So after 70 years, is there anything particular that stands out in your mind as the most memorable thing you've endured during your career?
No, I can't think of anything right off. It's just, I know I will make this comment. I've had, I told you I'd worked for, I think, 13 different superintendents, some from, this Mr. Ellis, that was there.
Right.
He was only there 3 weeks,
Oh, okay.
But because then he had already accepted a job going to Charlottesville,
Oh, okay.
One that hired me, but he was only there 3 weeks, and then Mr. Brockman, Strode Brockman, came in.
Mm-hmm.
and he was there for 17 years. And he was like a father to me. I thought he's the oldest old man. He was 42, and I was 16. I thought, oh, he's old.
Right.
But anyhow, after that, I had various and sundry superintendents, and they all had a different style, leadership style, you know. And people asked me, said, well, which one do you like the best? And I said, well, whoever was there at the time, that's how I lasted this long.
Exactly. So you said you find yourself more contented than you expected to be. How are you enjoying your retirement?
Well, I get up, maybe 9 o'clock or after. If I wake up early, I have an adjustable bed and TV in the bedroom. I turn the TV on and I just watch it till, watch the Today Show. And I get up, and if I want breakfast, I have breakfast. If I don't, I just, whatever. And I just do what I want to do. If I don't want to do anything, don't do anything.
You're at your own pace.
That's right, and I'm loving these cold mornings. I don't have to get up and get dressed and go to work.
Amen to that. Cold does not agree with me either, and I don't like having to get out in it. So
I wish that my eyes were better and that I could drive, because once in a while I might like just run to the grocery store or something, but I've got a lot of good friends that take good care of me and, you know, look after and make sure that I have my wants and needs.
Well, that's wonderful. Wythe County is a great place to live.
Yes, I've been back out to eat with the girls at the office several times. I've left that job in good hands out there. They've got some really, really good people.
Well, that's wonderful. That is wonderful, and I'm sure.
Once in a while, it makes me feel so good. They might call and say, hey, how do you do this and so? I mean, this report, I don't understand it. I said, well, I'll walk you through it the best I can, because I had to learn, and I'll give you all the knowledge I have, and then you add to it, and you'll have it perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.